Uh-oh. Thank you so much for the comment. Someone just told me that there was no volume. So I am going, hopefully you can hear me now. I am going to start over. I'm going to rewind. This is live. This is real stuff. And so I'm going to rewind and say those first points again. And thank you for you guys telling me that in the comments. And so here it is. I said that a school's growth and progress is totally dependent upon the ability or the leadership ability of the leader. It is the most, is this leadership is the second most influential factor in student growth and student development. So you want to make sure that you are leading in a way that is influencing the growth as statistically proven. Because if you are leading in a way that hinders growth, it is not good. And so you want to make sure that you're focused on developing as a leader and doing what's necessary. Now, here's what John Maxwell says. I know you guys probably read it, but I'm going to read it again. It just says, your leadership ability, for better or worse, always determines your effectiveness and the potential impact of your organization. And so leadership ability can be increased, but you have to make sure that you put the work in to develop your ability to lead. Now, while leading a school, one of the other things that we have to think about is the fact that we have to lead instruction. When you are leading a school, you have to focus on developing as a leader, leading instruction, and also setting the climate and culture for that instruction. Now, is it possible to lead without having instructional experience in a classroom? Because how can you lead instruction when you've never taught a classroom? And without classroom experience, an instructional leader may have the theory behind teaching, but not the practice, and no real world context for how to apply that theory. So you can read books and do all of those things and have the theory, but if you have never engaged in actually delivering the instruction, you might not have the ability to put theory into practice. Because I'll tell you this, and everyone who has taught in the classroom knows this. It's one thing to learn a theory or a strategy. It's another thing for that thing to work for your group of students. And I'm going to tell you, it could be a great strategy. It can work for other students, but it might not work for your students that particular school year. And so you have to have that time to be able to test out the science of teaching while blending it with the art, which is connecting with the learners, developing them in a holistic way, and figuring out what works for them and what doesn't. Even if it worked the year before or with another classroom, you could see 5 different classes in the same day, and the same one strategy will work for one class and not another. And so without classroom experience, you have theory and head knowledge. Now, here is my strong recommendation, because I just know what it's like. I taught in a classroom and I've led a school. And so here's my strong recommendation. I recommend that you teach in a classroom. The subject matter doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you teach art, music, PE, science, social studies, ELA, math. You teach something in the classroom, at growing your ability to manage a class and set up a culture and environment and deliver engaging instruction. Then step into leadership. Because one of the things you don't want to do is step into leadership and not know how to manage in a culture or how to put systems in place to make a classroom run smooth and efficiently and maximize instructional moments and time. So that is my strong recommendation, because if you skip teaching and step into leadership, you're going to make it that much more challenging for yourself as a leader, as well as for the people who are following you, because you're trying to relate to them, and they're seeing it one way and you're seeing it another, or you're trying to influence how they instruct without properly knowing the context or how these things are done. And so that's my strong recommendation. But now here's the thing, and here's the other part of the conversation. Because many people have transitioned from leadership into school leadership from another industry. And there are some school districts, some charter schools, some places that will hire school leaders without teaching experience. And so they would get you in there because they see that you came from another industry. You went through an alternative certification program. You have some success or a track record as a leader. And they may say, look, we can get you in here. But here's the ninja tip that is at the bottom. Don't let your desire to serve students and the excitement and passion for leading a school set you up for failure. Because here's the thing, I'm all for sending people to the principal's office, but I told you my thing is to help you lead like a champion. Don't let your excitement set you up for failure. Don't let your desire set you up to do something before you are actually ready. Because if you step into the position prematurely, then what you're going to get is premature results, meaning the impact you want to make, you won't make. It'll be a reduced, more challenging version of what you should have. And so, but some people may say, well, I've already done it. And I tell you, at the last elementary school I led, my dean did that. He transitioned into school leadership straight from business management. Now, we had a lot in common because I have a business background as well, but I went to teaching when I shifted careers. And so, and he admitted to me he never taught, but he was definitely good with people, good with the teachers, very supportive. And so here's the thing. If you are already in that place, I want to give you a strategy. Now, here's your first thing you could do. Number one, leverage your experience and expertise. Whatever you did before you became an educator, whatever experience and expertise you have with working with people, leading people, maybe you did some training, maybe you were a corporate trainer, you need to leverage that to the best of your ability. And then you need to pull in coaches, either from your district, the educational service centers, myself, coaches like me, consultants, and use the skill set of highly skilled teachers. You need to quickly identify the teachers that are highly skilled. Now, here's the challenge with that. It's hard to identify if a teacher is highly skilled when you don't know what highly skilled instruction is supposed to look like because you've never done it. But to the best of your ability, and get help from district personnel to find out and identify the strongest teachers and what areas they are highly skilled in, and then utilize them to help coach and lead instructionally. And then while you are doing that, simultaneously, while you are doing that, you need to learn and practice. You need to get it in. You need to participate in professional development, and you need to take courses and then go into the classroom and teach. Even if, I don't care if you are the principal, whatever your title is, if you've never taught, go to that professional development, then go into a classroom and teach. Teach as often as you can. Co-teach, team teach. Ask a teacher, look, can I teach this lesson for you? And then you observe me and let me know what I'm doing. Don't be afraid to learn and to practice and allow yourself to get feedback, even that you being the advisor actually, they're not you, but they can give you pointers because you are learning, and you can't be ashamed or afraid to learn with your team because you're already in that position. And if you don't do it, it's only going to get worse. So practice, participate in PD, take those courses, do what you got to do. And I want you to recognize one thing. The classroom management may not be the same for you as it would be if you were the teacher. Meaning this, it could go one of two ways. One, it could go good and the kids can be super cooperative because of the title principal that you have on your name. And two, it could go really good and they could be super cooperative because you're stepping into what the teacher is already established. All right, so you got to take that in mind too if that's what you're doing. Now, here's the next thing. If you've come from central office and step into school leadership but never taught, That's been a pathway that I've seen as well. Some people have gone to school and, got a degree in curriculum and development and things like that. And they go work at central office in the curriculum department, and then they shift and say, hey, I want to become a principal. And then they shift and move into the role of a school leader, whether as a principal or assistant or dean. And so they may have majored in curriculum and then shifted. That's another way that people come into it without having classroom experience. Now, what I would say to you, if you're in that situation, here's a strategy that I'll say. Number one, if your desire is to be a curriculum or in another position at central office, you need to follow this thing before you to really get to central office to have a well-rounded experience. You should start in the classroom and then get on the building leadership team, then go to central office. Now, I'm not saying you should become a principal or assistant or dean. Become a teacher leader. Be your grade level team leader or your department chair if you're at the high school. Teach, get on the leadership team so you can understand how the school leadership functions and how it works, then go to central office. Because one of the most challenging things as a school leader, and I'll tell you because I dealt with it, is to have people from central office and curriculum and instruction departments telling you what you should do at your school, how you should implement certain initiatives, and giving you a timeline for that implementation without having knowledge of how a school works or knowledge of how long it takes to get buy-in from people and then let them master it before they have to do something in front of the students. That is challenging because if they don't understand how schools work and schools run, they can place unnecessary and unrealistic demands upon you as a leader. Now, why I'm saying that is because if you desire to be in central office and work in curriculum, you don't want to be that person that puts unnecessary, unrealistic demands on school leaders. Okay, that's just a ninja tip while we're on that subject. Now, if you want to go to school leadership and you've already been in central office and you didn't teach in the classroom, but you feel the desire or the calling to lead in a school building, here's the first thing you need to do. Just like I said, for those folks who didn't become a classroom teacher first, I'm saying the same thing to you. You need to practice. Get into some classrooms. Teach and co-teach as often as possible. Get in there and teach and get in the middle of instructional delivery. Again, designing curriculum, looking at the research behind the curricular tools, setting up progressions of learning and curriculum maps and scopes and sequences is all good when you're sitting in an office full of adults, but it's a totally different thing when you have to implement it with some kids and you have to see, well, maybe this curriculum map is a little too aggressive because I need to spend more time on this particular point to help them master this standard or master this skill. And so you want to make sure if you've been there and you know that you can keep those kind of things in consideration as you are implementing stuff at the curriculum level. And then when you step into the school leadership level, being there and having known that will help you work with teachers, because sometimes teachers may be pacing too slow. And if you've been in an instructional position, you can help them know how to speed up the pacing of the lesson, but also help them know when to slow down the pacing of the lesson and when a curriculum map just has to flat out go out the window because it's just not jiving with how the students are learning. But those are things you learn from being in the classroom and from doing it. And so I'll repeat those tips. If you came from another content because you were in leadership in another industry, stepped into school leadership, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Teach in the classroom first, then become a principal. If you've already become a principal, take some classes on instruction, be involved in all of the PDs, learn as a student, and then get into classrooms, co-teach, or even teach some lessons and practice. If you've been at the district office or whatever you call central office, district office, they have different names. If you went out of college and went straight to curriculum department and then now you want to transition to a school leader, same thing. Get into them classrooms, teach some lessons, practice, practice, practice. And I'm not saying 1 or 2 times. I'm saying do it consistently. That way you can see the results and actually have that practice of delivering instruction, assessing their learning, assessing their mastery in different formats, and being there over time and seeing student growth. All right, so that's it for today's tip. I apologize and thank you for the people in the comments who let me know those first 2 minutes didn't have sound. Working with tech is always interesting, but we keep it moving. Now I want to tell you, remember to like, share, and comment on this video if it's helpful to you and being a blessing to you. I want you to share it with people you know who are not only in school leadership, but also applying or aspiring to be a school leader, whether they're in central office, coming from another district, or already teaching, which it's the best way to me if you're already teaching. Now, also, if you need help, strategizing, bouncing ideas, need some extra support, to help you think through anything you have going on in your building, feel free to reach out to me. I do one-on-one confidential sessions, and I am non-biased, and so I will help you figure out what's going on and navigate through some of the challenges that you have in the excess paperwork and I would say foolishness that you may have to be doing right now. Also, if you know of any teachers that are aspiring to leadership or anyone, period, aspiring to school leadership, give them this link as well that's on your screen. Get a free session. I'll tell you, I'll assess where you are, hear your story, hear your passion, hear your desire, and I will help you fill in those gaps through mentoring and classes that I have to help you lead like a champion. That is my mission. That is my assignment in life, to help school leaders lead like a champion. Because I'm going to tell you this, college courses have to make the same instructional decisions that we have to make in the land of K-12. We have to figure out what we teach and pull out the most important and pertinent content to help people pass the standardized test. And in college, it's the same way. They pull out the most important stuff to help you pass the certification test. And so what I do through coaching, through mentoring, and through my courses is I fill in those gaps with the things that they couldn't get to so that you can lead like a champion and overcome the statistic that says nearly 80% quit within the first 3 years. I don't want you quitting because you weren't equipped or because you got frustrated. The only time I want you to leave your position from leading a school is if you feel like that season is up and it's time to do something else. All right, so that's it. I will see you. Actually, join me tomorrow. At the time of this videoing is Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. So tomorrow I'll be live again at 5 p.m. and we'll be talking about toxic leadership, how toxic supervisors hide in plain sight and what to do to navigate through that. Because when you step into school leadership, you may have a toxic leader as your direct report. However, the organizational chart fits, whether you report directly to the superintendent, assistant superintendent, or somebody else, or even there might be school board members who are toxic. So you want to figure out how to navigate through that. And so join me tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, as we go live. I'll have a special guest on to talk about that. That's it. Thank you for watching. Like, share, comment. Use the link on your screen to get at me for a session, one-on-one session, whether it be to just help you figure something out or for some long-term coaching and mentoring. Lead like a champion and be successful. Bye-bye.